Lighting the fire by rubbing 2 sticks together. Easy as that. Hello, welcome back to the Bug Out channel. Now join me today where I attempt to gather materials and make a fire, and all I've got is one solitary knife. Let's check it out. Yeah, so welcome back. Thanks for taking the time to tune in and click on this channel and watch these silly little videos I make. Now today's video, we're in the woodland, we're in this parachute shelter because it's a bit wet, it's a bit drizzly, and I thought I'm going to make a video on how you can get a fire started and all you've got is a knife. No fire lighter equipment, just your wits and your knife. Doesn't matter what knife it is. This is the bushcraft. Whether I succeed or not, we'll wait and find out, won't we? So if I do get the fire going, I'm going to make a bit of char cloth as well. So I'm going to show you how I make a bit of char cloth, and I'll put that in my fire tin. So yeah, we're going to get to it. We're going to first find some fuel for the fire, and then get us some sort of heat source to get it ignited. That's the plan. So if you find that a bit of interest, stick around and let's see how we get on. Now, as you more likely know, fire needs 3 elements, doesn't it? Oxygen, fuel and heat. So the first thing we're going to look for is the fuel. What we're going to feed the fire with. So we're going to take a walk around the wood now and see what we can find. Right, so taking a walk now in the woods, looking for our fuel. You don't want to get anything off the ground, it'll be damp, won't it? So what I'm looking for is deadfall. Now what is deadfall, you may ask? A deadfall is just dead branches from the trees that fallen off, from the wind or for whatever reason, and they're hung up in the lower branches. So that way they're off the ground, they're not damp, they're bone dry because obviously they're dead, and they're perfect for picking. So let's go and see if we can find some. Right, so we come across a little birch tree. Now birch tree is very useful for fire making, and I'll show you why later on. But you can just see a little bit of deadfall hung up in the branches. So just take that off. Now you might think that's a little bit too small to get the fire going, but it's not. Want very small pieces first and make your way up to the large pieces. So I'll keep that to one side, and as you can see, because it's been up in the tree for X amount of time, it snaps really easy. Bone dry. Yeah, the birch tree is fantastic for deadfall. Little branches, when dead, they just fall off and get hung up in the trees. Like I said before, avoid picking anything up off the floor and let nature do the drying for you, isn't it? Right, stick them in my pocket. Let's go and find some more. Now look at this piece. So we just got a nice big piece of deadfall, and it starts off about 1 inch thick and then tapers all the way down to the end to like pencil size, so it's ideal. Got a lot of stuff out of this. So I'm going to take this back now and then sort it into the different sizes. Jackpot. This is exactly what I was talking about. The silver birch. So the bark just peels off. An excellent form of tinder. And if you just peel off the loose pieces, you won't damage the tree. This particular tree is a jackpot. Look at all this. So I'm going to fill my boots, not literally, with all this fantastic natural tinder, and then see if we can get a fire going. Right, I've got all the birch bark I need, I think I need. And here's an example of not what to do. Here is where some idiot has stripped the bark of a living tree and scored a knife mark all down here to strip the bark off. Yes, you can strip the bark off a dead tree to get the fire going, but not off a living tree, not like this. This is a prime example of a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, isn't it? Doing this, especially cutting the bark of a living tree, scoring a knife all down it, you can get disease into the tree and obviously can kill the tree off, and then, yeah, well done, isn't it? Let's take the birch bark I've got and let's see if we can get this fire going. Right, we're back in the parachute now, and I think I've got enough to get the fire going. Now, before you even think about getting the fire going, you want to process your wood and split it into different piles. So you want your tinder first, then some real small wispy bits, slightly larger twigs, your pencil size twigs, then you're looking slightly larger again, and then some bigger sticks. Now this is just to get the initial fire going. Obviously once you've got the fire going and it's established, then you can look for obviously larger pieces of firewood to keep it going for as long as you want. But that should be enough. I always say if you think you've got enough to get the fire started, double it. Because there's nothing worse of trying to get that fire going. It's got a small flame and then you run out to the small tiny sticks, isn't it? And the fire will struggle. So get more than what you think, just be on the safe side. It's not going to waste it, you just chuck it on the fire once it's established. So yeah, if you think you've got enough, just double it. So that's my fuel for the fire sorted. So the next thing I need now is heat, isn't it? The initial heat source to get the fire going. So for that I need a couple of pieces of maybe some nice dry willow or ash and a piece of hazel. So let's go and see if I can find them. Now, I found a bit of willow. Hopefully it'll do the job, but it's a bit long, so I'm going to see if I can break it between these two trees. Right, I got myself a bit of hazel and this bit of willow. I had to chop a little bit and then break it up on the tree to try and get the right sort of length. It was way too long as it was. Of course, I've got no saw with me, so split that one down the middle next. And the hazel, this is green, just scrape the bark off. You can see there. So being green timber, it's got a bit of flex in it. So some of you want to guess what I'm going to do now. I'm going to split this down and make a hearth, which is a base and a top, and try and get some sort of bow drill action going using the hazel and the laces off my boot for the bow, using the willow then for a hearth, and using this dead bit of hazel as the drill. And just scrape the bark off. You see it's brown, so it's dead, it's not green. So I'm hoping it'll work. I know bushcrafter, and I don't tend to use a bow drill to start a fire. There's more than enough ways, easier way to start a fire, but it's a good skill to learn. So let's see if we can do it. So what I got to do is find a nice straight piece, which is probably about 8 inches long, and that's this bit here. But obviously sticks too long, so I've got to cut it down, isn't it? To do that, I'll just make a series of cuts just around the base from both sides. I believe it's called a beaver cut. You can see why. After a while, just like when a beaver cuts through a little tree, gets so far down, and it should just break off. Flip it over. See that there now? Not a lot left. It might just break. Just like that. There's a nice straight piece here. I'll make it about 8 to 10 inches long. So I'll do the same this end now. I'll cut that off, the excess, and it should be ready in for my bow drill. So now I've got my drill. It's slightly tapered, so it's thinner this end, thicker that end. So what I'm going to do is just round this thinner end off. This is for the friction part, and then this end I'm going to go down about 1 inch from the top and then taper it off to not to a point, but a real thin piece at the top, for my handhold. Right, so there we have the makings of the drill. So I've tapered the top, that would be my handhold, and then just rounded off the bottom. Just take a bit more bark off. So hopefully that now should do the trick. So the hearth, or the base plate, got it nice and flat so it sits on the ground tidy. Obviously when you're putting pressure on your bow drill, you don't just rock it back and forth in it. So first thing I do now is just drill a little bit of a divot in there with a knife, just like so. Give it a good few turns on here just to get it established, and then we'll cut a notch out for our ember. Took the bootlaces off, little notch in each end, and then the length, you want a nice long length, just so you can get some good strokes on it. God's sake. It's already started to burn. So now we've got that nice and charred. We're going to cut out a little notch. Put my glasses on for this bit. Right, so you charred the divot. So the next thing I want to do now is cut out a groove or a chamber for the ember. Now I was shown this on a bushcraft instructor's course I went on many moons ago. Now I might not do it completely as I was shown, but hopefully I'll get it somewhere near right. So the first thing I do is score a couple of lines. Right, so then you can see the two lines, they splay out from the centre of your divot, and on the bottom they splay out as well. That just gives you a bit more open area at the bottom, now a bit more air to come in, obviously to feed the ember. And then the next stage is just to lap it out. So that's what I'm going to do now. So on my line, just keep working your way out. This is where a nice sharp knife comes into play, like this beaver craft, and that should do it. So I've got a nice open cavern, I suppose you call it, or area. That'll allow airflow in, plus it won't hinder the ember when it falls out the hole. It's got somewhere for it to go. And it come into just about centre of the hole or divot, and then say splaying out this way, splaying out that way, and then nice open area at the bottom. So hopefully that should work. Another thing you want to do is also collect all your shavings from when you're cutting your notch, doing your divots, shaping your drill. So it's all nice dry timber, and it'll obviously aid in getting that fire going, won't it? Yeah, so don't waste it, keep hold of it. So there we are. I think we've got all the elements ready now. We've got obviously our drill, we've got our bow, my bootlace. And when tying the lace on or the string, don't tie it too tight, otherwise you'll never get the drill to bite on. And obviously don't tie it too loose, otherwise it'll keep falling off. So it's just something you've got to practice. We've got our hearth, or base plate, with a notch in there ready to go. And we've got a handhold as well. So that's it. Oh, and obviously we've got a bit of birch bark to collect the ember if one arrives, so it doesn't go on the floor. We've got our sticks ready, our tinder, so there's nothing to it now other than give it a go. So that's what we're going to do. So all I'm doing now is trying to fill my notch up with the dust. Some nice steady strokes, behave yourself, and about 50% of downward pressure. See a little bit of smoke coming out, so I might just up the pressure. Bit more smoke coming. But I don't up the speed just yet, because my notch is nowhere near full. Lots of smoke now, which is a good sign. There's loads of dust in now, so I'm going to up the pressure and up the tempo. Right, now we've got an ember. Secret is now, don't panic. That's going to smolder there for a few minutes. So give me enough time to get your tinder bundle together. I'm going to just gently put that into the tinder bundle, and fingers crossed, we should have a fire. See, still a little bit of smoke coming from my ember, so I know it's still alive. So just gently pick it up. See, it's still smouldering. So being gentle, just want to put my birch bark on the top and flip them over. Now we're just going to add oxygen. I've got a bigger ember there now, so I can be a little bit more aggressive. Now I'm going to get our small sticks on there. Let them burn down a little bit. We get our bigger sticks on. Just be careful not to put too many sticks on too quickly. You don't want to suffocate your fire. We spent all our hard work getting it going. So yeah, take some time, just feed it little and often, and hopefully have a good fire. Right, now I've got the fire going. I'm just going to let that burn down a bit so I can do my char cloth in the tin. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But let's just talk through the bow drill while I've got a couple of minutes. So all in all, yeah, got it going, success. It's only a few times I've done it before, so I want to practice it, and like obviously hone the skills, isn't it? But I do have to confess, it wasn't as easy as it looked. I did have to change a hearth. My original hearth, it was working fine. I had plenty of charred material and I was getting good smoke, but it just wouldn't ignite. I think it's just slightly too damp. So instead of just persisting with it, spending X amount of calories and wasting time, I just decided to ditch this and find a better one. It's a bit drier. I cut it a little bit thinner, but even with this I still had to have a few notches until I got the right sort of size notch. The spindle or the drill, yeah, that worked well. And you'll find out as you are using a bow drill, you do have to take some of the charred material off the bottom, because obviously the darker it gets and it gets harder and harder, and it's less likely you're producing enough charred material, you know, to turn into an ember. And then the top, you've got to make sure you keep shaping that to a point for your handhold. If it gets too rounded, you're causing too much friction on your handhold. You want all the friction at the bottom, really. So yeah, you've got to tinker with it a little bit, but that's part and parcel of it. It's not very often you'll just pick a bow drill up, get it going, and then within 2 minutes it's job done. If that does happen, yeah, good job, and all the best to you. It was probably a bit short, to be honest. Could done have been another, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches longer, just so you can get a longer stroke on it. Behave yourselves. Bootlace, yeah, it did last, but I did have to use the whole length of the bootlace, as the first bit I done just frayed it a bit, but it's still working. Just have to undo the knots now and put it back in my boot. So all in all, job done. But I will have to do it again, just get more practice and get better at it. But these things you'll learn by doing it. It's right just watching it or reading it in the book. You've got to get out there and do it. I've got some good embers on the fire there, so I'm going to chuck some bigger sticks on and I'm going to make some char cloth. Right, char cloth. Now we've got a nice bit of embers, like I say. Let's make some char cloth. So all we need is some sort of metal container. So these little tins you can get from BCB is like a sweet tin, survival tin, but you can use a little paint tin. Nothing too big and nothing too small. So once you've got your tin, what you going to fill it with? What's the cloth going to be made of? Well, you want something that's 100% cotton, ideally. So this old t-shirt, this is ideal. So what you want to do, you want to cut the t-shirt into strips, or your material into strips, roughly the same size as the inside of your tin. So let's get, you want a knife, don't you? Or scissors, whatever you got. So probably about that size. So that's roughly that size. That'll go inside your tin. But what you want to do now is cut loads of pieces. Here's some I done earlier. And just layer them into your tin, one on top of the other. Just like so. So once you've got your material in there, we'll put a lid on. So we're going to put this on the fire. But as that burns, it needs to release all the gases from inside. So what you want to do is put a hole in the tin. Nothing too big, probably the size of a pen or a pencil. That's probably enough, look. Now that is ready to go in the fire. So what you're looking to do is char and everything inside without it igniting. So let's go and give it a go. So at the top of the lid now, at the hole, you can see is a flame. That's all the gases from the material burning off. When that stops, that means all the gases have burnt out inside, and what you should have remaining is a charred material. So just keep an eye out for it. So as soon as it stops, take it off the fire. Do not open the lid, whatever you do, because if you open up the lid, you allow oxygen to go inside, and that will ignite then, and obviously all your material will just turn to dust. So it's just calming down now. Couple more minutes and that should be ready to go. See, all the flame has stopped coming out from the tin now, so that's all the gas is burnt off. So I'll take the tin off the fire and let it cool down. Right, that's off the fire now, let it cool down. What I like to do, you don't have to do it, but you can put a small stick, put that in the hole of your tin. That just stops any air getting in there and potentially igniting your cloth. So you don't have to do it, but it's just something I like to do. Right, so the tin has cooled down. I haven't opened it yet. I think I've got some char cloth in there. So let's open it up and find out. Yeah. Some of it hasn't quite taken, like the corners. But what you can do with this is just obviously just cut the bits off which haven't charred. Just take a piece out. So yeah, you've got a nice piece of char cloth here. Now you might ask, what do you want char cloth for? Well, it's great just to fold a few pieces like this and put it in your fire tin, because this will take a spark. Whether it's from a ferro rod or flint and steel, this will take a spark and you have a good head start then for your ember to get the fire going. Just show you. See all them embers on there burning away? So as you can see, that bit of cloth, by charring it, it's an excellent aid to starting a fire, isn't it? And anything that helps you start a fire, especially in a survival situation, it's going to be a benefit, isn't it? Look, they just smoulder and smoulder. Yeah. So there we are, guys. Char cloth. Easy peasy. So there we are, guys. Here's a video. There was a couple of elements to it, wasn't it? Fire by friction. All I had was a knife and a bootlace. and then making some char cloth, you know, with the fire. It's no good wasting the fire, is it? It's all about practicing skills, isn't it? It's all right reading about skills or looking around on YouTube, but getting out there and having a go. Yeah, you're gonna fail. I failed my first few attempts on bow drills, and but now after a bit of practice, keep doing it, I got it going. The next time I do it, I might fail again, but you just got to keep practicing, isn't it? So get out there and give it a go. So I hope you liked the video, guys. Hope you learned something from it. If you haven't done so already, please think about liking, subscribing, hit the notification bell. And if you want to see some more videos, check that one out and that one. And I'll catch you again next time. All the best.